things about him that weren't apparent in the museum at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's I would agree with that. I mean, obviously
there aren't too many, complex. There can be complex shows in a museum in which they show you both sides, but I don't think there are too many. It's usually hagiographic, they're trying to make a hero out of the person. Otherwise, why would you come to Elvis Presley's Graceland or
Oh, that's because that's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, my
Yeah,
daughter
Sorry.
says. So
let's talk about Graceland. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
I'm gonna make
seen
it.
Elvis. You need to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, my daughter.
It's
They
fun.
made some sort of connection there at one point between Evel Knievel and Elvis Presley, just saying they were of that same era, I guess.
Well, they both wore jumpsuits.
And
for sure.
Yeah.
and I think there's a sense in which each of them had sort of a tragic life in a way.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, interestingly, another fun fact that I discovered on my little tour this afternoon was that there is an Evel Knievel rock opera. Oh, who knew?
Oh, really?
And in that rock opera, there
Oh,
is an Elvis-like character. So they managed to kind of fold it all in. I do have a clip from that. not the Elvis
Kathleen,
character.
it was produced, Kathleen?
Yes, would you like to see a little bit?
And well, Kathleen,
Absolutely.
didn't it open to some good reviews?
Yeah, that's how it was described. It opened to some positive reviews in Las Vegas. It was just
No, Los Angeles or Las Vegas?
Yeah, I think it was in Las Vegas. Hey,
Okay.
this
It almost
is
would have to be.
rock opera. Okay, oops, hang on. I need to unshare and make sure I hit the yes, the share the sound, because that would be tragic to not hear this fine rock opera. Okay, I swear I'm not going to play much of this because it's kind of annoying, but it's kind of like every bad rock concert I went to in the 70s, There you Oh, shit.
Oh my goodness.
The wide straddle of the legs told me all.
Please make it stop.
What are you doing?
I'm trying to stop.
Please.
I'm afraid about Amy.
Oh my God, I can't make it stop. Sorry.
Well, we're not hearing it.
No,
Kathleen,
we're not getting it.
We're
Oh,
not
you
getting
couldn't-
it.
It was
It's
like
just
blaring.
no.
in
We
my-
heard it while you were showing it, but right now we're not hearing it.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Other
You
than
don't
the-
want to hear it.
It's
No.
horrible.
It
Anyway.
was-
It's what
Oh
you'd
my
expect,
God.
that
It
kind
was
of.
horrible.
There
Well,
were at least three movies made of his life. There was that one with George Hamilton that George Hamilton talked about, but
Oh,
there
God.
were two or three others that were made.
Well, and
Yeah.
like Gene Kelly and Lauren Hutton was in that one too. It's like, it was terrible.
But
Yeah,
Hamilton, when I heard that he was playing Evel Knievel, I
Yeah.
mean, he's so fussy and he has to have his walnut, tan. And somehow that seemed a little bizarre having.
Well, that's why they call them actors, though. They don't have to.
Yes, but George Hamilton was a really rather mediocre actor, if you remember.
Oh, I'm not saying he
I
wasn't.
didn't want to say he's bad, but ooh.
He was better than evil.
That's true.
I was about to say, I thought he was kind of appropriate for the subject.
Yeah.
Apparently, Scott, he was a real con man. I mean, he had charm and the gift of gab, and They
Evel or
did
George
not
Hamilton?
explain how he got those 2 red pickup trucks. They skipped that, if you remember. He said, and somehow I got 2 red pickup trucks and a trailer, and no explanation of how, that's how his career started. And there was no
Evel was far more
explanation.
than kind of a con man. I
Yeah.
think he defined con man, but
Well, like,
He
I
was-
mean, all the stuff like with the Czech hockey team coming to Butte
Oh, my God.
and he stole the money. And then
It-
according to Wikipedia, the International Olympic team had to pay like pay
Oh,
the Czech team so as not to create an international incident was how it was described.
The ladies didn't
Gotta look
say
that
he
up.
stole it. He left during second period, and somehow the money left with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then supposedly he tried to rob a bank by
Oh,
like
Lord.
drilling through a wall, a masonry wall. It's just, the list was just incredible of all the,
He's
kind of
Well,
horrendous.
brilliant, but
that one
he's
guy
not.
said he was a safe cracker,
yeah.
and, so. Yeah, I was more than just con.
He wasn't bright, but he was very clever.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's a great salesman, I think, in terms of, and a self-promoter, obviously. But
Kind
what
of
about
reminds
his,
me of somebody more current than it is in a way.
who could that
Very,
possibly
very good
be?
at self-promotion.
Yeah,
We've got a lot of those right now.
yeah,
Corrupt,
Doesn't
know-
but-
stop at the movies, unfortunately.
no.
Did
I
you want
mean-
to share any other wonderful things, Kathleen?
oh, jump
Oh,
the shark.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, you're skipping ahead though.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've
You
got
have a plan?
I've got a
I didn't
game
know you
plan.
had a plan.
It's really, really frightening.
God, she did extensive research.
I think
Poor
what
thing.
would have been, well, as Dick commented on Frank Gifford being so handsome, if we'd
Oh.
had all those people they interviewed in their prime, it would have been more effective, I think, because
Yeah.
they were all old.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
I
were
can
all
relate
old
to that.
people.
But he really spent time with a lot of people that were kind of in the know with the sports.
And the
Yeah.
wide world of
Well,
sports.
Gifford,
went
wasn't there a
wild.
scandal about Gifford as well? Not only
Oh.
women and cocaine, but something having to do with
You
money
know all the
that-
dirt.
that
Man.
Kathy,
All the
that
dirt.
Kathy Lee had to cover up.
oh
I mean,
my.
They were really, all of those guys, they were tough guys from Butte. And a lot of them said, yeah, you had to fight it out, except we didn't use aluminum baseball bats.
Yeah,
That was
Right,
the-
they drew the
you
line
had to
at
use
that.
your fists.
Yeah, they only use wooden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, there's
What
like
did
a,
They were old,
Have
old
to
school.
cover up. That's a tease. What did Kathy Lee have to cover up? I gotta know.
yeah,
No, you
Oh.
don't.
talk about it, Sharon.
You brought it up. Kathy Lee had to
Well,
cover
there
something.
was,
You
you
heard it
knew
here.
that he was caught on video with a woman of ill repute doing cocaine in a motel. You knew about that, didn't
Oh, I
you?
had not heard that.
Huh, I hadn't heard that.
Oh, that.
I
not
knew
at
there
all.
was
Oh,
something.
go to Wikipedia. I'm sure they know. I never admired him and I found her obnoxious and kind of smarmy.
Do you have
And
any opinions, Sharon?
Yeah.
I don't. And well, Midwesterners are like Southerners. Well, bless your heart. You come from the East, you at least tell the truth, for God's sakes, rather than
I need to turn the lights.
namby-pambying. And besides, you're people I know and you're my friends. I don't talk to everybody that way. But there's
Well-
nothing wrong, Kathleen, of having an opinion. And
No,
I'm tired of being criticized for that.
no,
Very black and white.
we always enjoy your opinion, Sharon.
Yeah, Kathleen, and you're being patronized.
Well, on another
No.
subject.
We
uh,
love you.
on another subject.
Well, you might.
I thought, there are a lot of people in a capitalistic society that put together a dog and pony show,
Yes.
and Evel Knievel was very successful at that.
Yeah.
And ABC Wide World of Sports really ate it up.
Yeah.
So
And that
he
whole
was,
thing about the red, white, and blue, I think was very
Yes.
significant. What do you think?
Yeah. No, his branding and his packaging was really impressive, you know, with the patriotic piece and, well, and Scott,
He-
we
he
were,
did-
The
he have a-
others wore the
did he have a
black
promoter?
leather.
I think, I don't, did he have a promoter? I know he did for like that Snake River Canyon deal. That was, he had all sorts of kind of heavyweight promoter folks,
Well,
but
wasn't the guy whom he beat up and broke his arms with the baseball bat, wasn't that kind of a
Hiker?
promoter for him?
Yeah, he was
Mhm.
part of the Snake River thing. I think that's where they connected.
Band of Brothers.
But I think Scott, you had made a good comment earlier about just the
Wow.
whole TV piece of it, you know, that
Oh,
since it
yeah.
was that earlier era, you
Well,
can,
no, it's like what Dick was saying about the wild world of sports eating it up. I mean, he was created because TV was looking for content, and it's just massively exploded. And that's why you have all the extreme games and things that they were showing later. That's all for TV and for eyeballs to get
Right.
commercials.
Right.
Mhm.
And he happened to time it at the right time when Wild World of Sports was looking for that. And he was such a good promoter and such a good packager that he was made for that. And it was short, it was quick. They could show it in a 20-minute period. So I mean, they talk about him creating that whole extreme sports, and in a way he did, but it was going to happen anyway because they were going to look for that kind of content.
Mhm.
And he
He
was
was
the
on Johnny Carson, which I thought was amazing. 'cause
he was
that
on
like-
everything, Dick
Yeah.
Cavett and all
Yeah, I
those
mean,
things.
those were
Mhm.
really important
Mhm.
shows at the time.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I kind of wondered what kind of a businessman was he, or did he have somebody who did his business affairs? Because his son was talking about how he was on the forefront of branding, and part of his riches came from that. So was he a very good businessman to actually negotiate deals on all of those?
He may have been, but his
With people, or did
philosophy,
somebody else take care of that for him? It
I
didn't
would-
really say.
but
Like,
his philosophy was, I earn it, I'm going to spend it.
yeah.
I'm not going to
Yeah,
say.
but how, but
And-
was he the guy who had the brains to negotiate the deals with the vendors who were providing the equipment for him, and that he was giving publicity to?
Yeah,
I-
because I think you're right. There had to have been somebody that like his big cash in was with those that toy.
The
Right.
action figure.
the
Yeah,
stunt
I
toy
had the
thing.
impression he never made any money except from the toy, because
Right.
when he lost that deal, everything went down the drain really quick.
No, he, if you remember, there were events that were $500,000, which
Mhm.
at that time was a
That
lot of
was-
money.
That was from the toy company, wasn't it?
No, there
'Cause
were
it's-
events that that the men said were coming in hot and heavy that were $500,000.
Well, the 500,000 was the toy. That
That
was
was
the
No, I
royal.
toy.
He made like $125 million. That's for the
Right.
sale,
No,
$125
but the
million
guy,
in
the guy that
sales.
was talking about the two checks being there for
Oh, that's right. That's
each,
right.
those were
That's right.
royalties.
Yeah, I had read that his jumps were getting him like $25,000 a pop, which
And-
at the time is a lot of money.
Yeah.
And they
But-
never said
I
what
remember our
ABC was paying
kids
him.
our boys had those, I don't know if they had Evel Knievel motorcycles, but they had something you could pull and they
Yeah,
could run them off a ramp.
yeah.
Yeah,
It was very popular.
I never got
Yeah.
one of those.
Poor
Kind
Scott.
of bitter.
Yeah,
but-
well,
Well, you're with the
Maybe.
right age. My kids were it was probably in the 70s and they were in grade school or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I was junior high. I was just, yeah. I
You were
still
at
didn't
an
have one.
impressionable
he's still
age.
bitter.
I'm still bitter. But
Did
there's
you
still,
go
I
find
look,
it.
You probably
One
are
of those
closer to them
capes
than I
and
realize.
the jumpsuit and the cape.
did I have
Yeah,
a
It amazed
jumpsuit?
No, I
me.
said, did you
It
want to
amazed
have?
me how much.
No, no.
Oops. Sorry,
It
we're out
amazed
of,
me how much money he made. I mean, he was
Yeah.
just extremely rich. What he had, planes and
yeah.
cars off the,
Boy
Yeah.
toys.
yeah.
He
it's like,
spent it
how
all,
could you
you
get
know?
rich off of jumping a motorcycle over?
Yeah.
cars? It
People
just-
wanted to see it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
I mean,
Amazing.
does
I know
everybody
it's
have?
like, it's like NASCAR. They wait for the
Gracie.
crash.
I
Oh,
would
Gracie.
I would suspect that he didn't long-term plan. He probably didn't have. He was only receiving royalties. He didn't own the trademark recently I saw where one of his sons is suing Disney because
Saw
they have a likeness
Mhm.
for, in Toy Story 4, there's a likeness
Right.
of Evel Knievel. And so, if he's suing, he's probably doesn't have the trademark, but he's suing for the likeness.
Interesting.
The son, one of the sons runs all the merchandise and has the
Ah.
trademark.
Oh, okay.
And but they're saying that really he probably won't have a case. Disney wasn't impersonating him anyway. It is something that was done. And the other son is doing stunts, I guess. But he just doesn't have the personality that his father did.
Yeah.
I mean, do you all
Yeah,
have
but
memories?
that Toy Story thing was definitely Evel Knievel. I mean,
Yeah, Nuke.
you wouldn't think of
What was his
anybody
name?
else if you saw that little clip.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves was the
But what was the character? What they call him? Nuke
oh,
Bomb
Boom.
oh,
I don't
Boom. Yeah,
yeah, Duke
Boom.
Boom or
Duke
something like that.
Kaboom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I
Interesting.
saw 4. We didn't see 4, did we?
Yeah.
But-
So what about his kids? I always, like in the movie, it sounded like there were 3, but it ends up there were 4.
It looked like there were 2 girls.
Yeah.
Two daughters.
Hey,
I
there's
guess
only
his-
one girl on, right?
Yeah.
interview?
Alicia, who's his youngest daughter, was born the same year that his first grandchild was born. So she was
Because
later.
that's the second wife, though. He had
Oh.
No, it
three
was the
with
first
the
one.
real wife, and then when Barbie came along, that little one is hers.
Well, according to Wikipedia, all 4 were with Linda, who was a
Really?
saint, Saint Linda.
Huh,
Yeah.
including the tiny little blonde person?
Yeah, the blonde, what's her name? Crystal with a K, I think. Anyway,
Oh, I'm sure.
that was a tumultuous relationship. I guess they met, they got married. Oh, you'll like this, on a platform over the fountains at Caesar's Palace with a videotaped dedication from Engelbert Humperdinck. I
Ugh.
swear to God, this is true.
How old was she? 16 and he was like
She was pretty
54?
young, yeah. And anyway, they only were married for a couple years, and it sounds like they were kind of a mess. And at one point, she had a restraining order against him, and they got divorced. And then they got back together, did not remarry, and he was with her till he died. So there is
Because the
Crystal's
only
story.
picture I saw of the little tiny person was with
Mm.
the second.
Yeah. So yeah, what about his first wife, Linda? She was
He was tolerant.
awesome.
She was beautiful.
Yeah.
Have
I
to.
mean,
Very much with the stand by your man kind of mentality of the
Yeah.
time.
yeah.
She finally said she didn't think he was very nice after 40 years of abuse.
Well, I kind of wonder, I mean, it sounds like he at least got really bad after all of like the bankruptcy and the Snake River Canyon thing and all that kind of stuff. I mean,
I
you
think
wonder
it was probably
never
in
nice.
pain all the time. When you're in pain, you get cross.
exactly. That's what I'm thinking. It's like with enough hitting your head enough and
But he was
breaking.
really never really nice. I mean, we see him as a real horror towards the end, but he was never a very nice person.
Yeah.
And he fooled around. Oh, yucky.
But
Yeah.
they do mention, or at least some of his, I guess you still call them friends, mention that a lot of that they thought was due to the drugs he was taking rather than,
Oh,
that he could
His
no longer
natural- Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
didn't he
that
surely
side of
had
it.
a lot, he surely had a lot of head injuries.
that's what I'm wondering.
That's what I
Yeah,
thought too.
and I'll bet he was one of those rambunctious kids. He probably had head injuries before he started all
Yeah.
this other stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, remember
Um,
that early story when he ran into the door or there's something like
Yeah.
that and said,
Yeah, in
Nothing-
order to
you
say,
can't
you
hit-
can't
hurt
hurt
me."
me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
telling, I thought.
That was
Yeah.
very poignant, actually.
Well, did
He
they
was
ever
on-
total?
Was he
Did they?
on? Was he on painkillers too?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I didn't think that painkillers made you terrible. I thought it alleviated your pain and made you feel better. What Debbie said is really significant because they talk about the football players who've had continuous concussions and therefore brain damage, that behavior is very much like they're very angry, they blow up and are easily frustrated and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I
And
didn't know that.
sometimes that starts when they're very young because they act like that from, when they're toddlers on.
Mhm.
And
They
they
said
have
he was-
accidents all throughout their life, and then it builds up. I wonder if anybody's totaled up all of his medical bills. Kathleen, did you find that interesting?
I did discover that apparently he was not insurable.
Oh,
what
yeah.
a surprise.
Yeah, I guess that Lloyd's of London turned him down like 47 times for insurance, which I
Oh,
can't
my
figure out why
goodness.
he would keep going back.
Because they probably, he was, it was one of his publicity things again.
Yeah.
What are they going to insure? They're going to insure his motorcycle or his helmet, or I
Yeah.
mean, like he would run a scam on that one, I think.
Right.
The way they
Well,
would.
one of the things they had at the museum was this giant mural that detailed all of his injuries.
Oh, that's
Oh,
right.
really?
There
God.
were
That's right.
so many broken bones. I mean, it was glorifying all the injuries actually. And it was this huge mural. And I noticed in the movie, that mural showed up. It was behind in a promotional event. It was behind him in a motorcycle. That
Oh,
very
really?
same mural.
Well, according again to Wikipedia, he may have suffered more than 433 bone fractures, earning an entry in the Guinness Book of World Records for the most bones broken in a lifetime. So how would you like that as a claim to fame?
How bright are you?
I
Well,
know.
it's a real endorsement for the helmet. So if any of you ride a motorcycle,
Wear a helmet.
wear a helmet, because if he had been without one in any of those accidents, he would have died right away.
Yeah. No, it sounds like he was a big like promoter for motorcycle helmet wearing, that kind of thing.
That might have been one of his better, not quality, better
Promotions.
actions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actions, right.
Yeah.
I thought it
Well-
was very funny that the motorcycle gangs tried to kill him.
But well, he had a complicated relationship with the Hells Angels, though.
Well, what did your sources?
No, he obviously didn't like them. He didn't have much good things, and they attacked him right in that San Francisco Capitol
Yeah.
Palace
Kill
thing.
him. Yeah.
But then remember the Snake River? God, that was just
The
like
fence.
the party
Yes.
of debauchery. What is it? The just horrible version of Woodstock or whatever they called it. And the Hells Angels were hired. They ended up hiring them as the security, which
To keep him from.
You know what
So
happened
bizarre.
at Altamira, so
I think that one of the
Rolling
best
Stone.
stories out of that Snake River thing were the guys who were in the high school marching band.
oh,
And just the thought of some band teacher pulling up in a school bus to this mayhem out there with burning beer trucks and all that, and say, "Okay, kids, get off."
I
And
know.
you put a drill team out there.
I
I mean,
know.
it's just like,
It was
oh my
horrible.
God.
What I'm really surprised by is, why didn't the guy take one look at, hey, there's a couple over there having sex next to the tree and so forth and so on, and say, we're out of here.
No,
Exactly.
Well, that's what made me
Exactly.
realize how weird the 70s were. I mean, it's just like,
I missed that.
Remember
Did
that?
they show people having sex near trees?
no, they had
Well,
the
they
No,
guy
they
talked about
mentioned
it.
it.
the
Yeah.
band
Oh,
director said
okay,
he pulls
gosh.
up and realized, oh, this isn't what we think it is.
Yeah. I have a bunch of 16-year-olds in the bus and there's people having sex by the tree, but I'm going to let them out of the bus anyway.
Yeah.
I mean,
And-
God,
and we're
who
gonna
does that?
March and play music, and it's just
Yeah.
everyone's
You
drunk
know,
or
the other-
high or.
Weren't they Butte? They were from Butte, weren't they?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So Butte's they probably did pretty well having Evel Knievel as their representative of the community, though.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
would bring money in. People would
Yeah.
be coming to visit. And
You
They
could
kind
have
of put
used
him
that
on
in
the
the
map.
70s.
Did
Yeah.
anybody find it strange that he said, the Interior Secretary took back my permission to leap through the Grand Canyon, so I bought my own
Oh,
Canyon.
right, the Snake River Canyon. I
Who
wonder,
Yeah.
bought that?
maybe he had to pay somebody to get permission to do it.
Well, the Grand Canyon would be a national park, so that
That's
would be
true.
tricky.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but then he could have plunged to his death and it would be over.
But didn't they have one of the promotion things, they had a picture of him with a couple of Native Americans,
Mhm.
and I assumed that he, as part of the promotion, that they got some, I mean, I don't know whether that's on the Snake River Canyon is part of a reservation or what, but I figured there's something like that
No,
going
no,
on.
it was the Grand Canyon, and
Yeah,
they said,
because
Oh,
they said that
okay.
they
That
were
was at the
Diné.
Grand
They said that
Canyon.
they were Navajo,
Okay.
but they weren't dressed
Big-
like Diné or Navajo. That was the other
Okay.
thing that was
But-
weird.
yeah, because at the Grand Canyon, you've got reservations on either side of the national park. And
Right.
so that's, yeah, you can do things on that land that you can't do at the national park,
Huh.
like
Yeah,
like jump
that
over the canyon.
glass bridge thing that they
Yeah,
have,
glass
Oh,
bridge, right.
so
the walkway. I know.
scary.
Well,
Well,
just,
do you-
oh, go ahead.
well, I just wonder what people's, I mean, before the movie, I mean, we all grew up or were alive in the 70s. I mean, I have memories as a teenager of the guy, and I thought he was really weird. I'd watch the Wide World of Sports just to see if he'd crash, but otherwise, he was just sort of this odd guy. But I mean, do you guys have memories of him from the 70s at all?
I just remember hearing about him. I didn't ever
Yeah.
follow.
Yeah,
Okay,
I just
Didn't
heard he was
follow
the
him, but he'd
daredevil.
make the news now and again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
it was like the guy who strung a string between the towers and decided to do a tightrope. They were
Right.
kind of daredevil
Yeah.
kinds of things that you'd hear about, but he always seemed kind of a little off.
Mhm. Well, just, I mean, that whole notion of the 70s, I think that whole kind of glimpse into, oh my gosh, what a weird time. You kind of forget about how odd it was. And I mean, I guess he did his Snake River thing the same day that Nixon was pardoned, which
Mhm.
that probably cut into his PR a little bit.
Yeah.
Um,
Those were pretty serious times for many
yeah,
people.
yeah, no,
What they were showing is much more the 60s with all that kind of debauchery. The 70s was a very fraught time politically.
yeah, yeah. No, it's just, I don't know. You
Well, I
think-
remember, you know, him being on TV, and I think we watched maybe once, and then I decided I really didn't want my sons to see that because
Mhm.
I didn't really want
Oh,
them to think they could try some things like that.
right, right.
Yeah,
They
Yeah.
were thinking that anyway. Even without seeing him. You were-
Yeah.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
already doing daredevil stuff. I
Yeah.
didn't want to reinforce it.
yeah. I thought it was interesting. They talked about just the difference between the equipment that he had and, like the motorcycle was way heavier and maybe not as fast as the current ones. And then there was another comment, and I can't remember if this was in the movie or one of the videos I watched, but they described building those ramps, and they were like just put together with random pieces of plywood, and and they'd kind of have to eyeball it, and it was all very unsafe and unscientific, and yet
It was
somehow-
really
That's what I
obvious
thought
that
was-
he didn't have a whole lot of physics or math in high school.
Yeah, and I thought it was really odd that he had that one guy who would tell him if he was going fast enough. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, shouldn't that be calculated some way long
Ex-
before he attempts the jump?
Exactly. All of that was just sort of like, well, let's try this and see what happens,
Yeah, exactly.
and oh, well, you might, get shot out in a parachute, but I don't know. It was
The
was
rocket thing
wild.
seemed, there were so many times around the 70s and 80s, dreaming about rockets and futurism. There were always these things showing people with jetpacks on their back, and it was kind of dreamy.
Mhm.
His trying to fight against natural gravity, and
Yeah.
It
I
made
did
me,
like,
I'm
No,
sorry.
go for
It just made me think about Bezos and Elon Musk and
Oh, yeah. The space race.
They-
Yeah.
there was a guy in the last 6 months. he's my kind of guy, but he's a member of the Flat Earth Society. But
Oh.
the whole steam rocket thing, he's trying to build a rocket so he can show that the world is not flat by getting high enough to show that
Look
there
over
is no
the edge.
there's no curvature. And this is out in Nevada, and he's got, it's a great documentary someday, but he has built a steam rocket, much like the Evel one, but he couldn't get permission. He finally got permission, and he fired it. He had to use a mobile home as a ramp to get enough height, and he got way up, and he came down and crashed, and he said, I'm really close, I'm almost figuring it out. And I thought, we still got people like that. They're just not
Yeah.
on Wild World of Sports anymore.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
there's also, I don't know if any of you went to the busker days in Lawrence. There's a guy doing a pogo stick,
Oh,
another
right.
guy doing a unicycle. And I mean, they are a type of daredevil because they were doing tricks that, and they had said too, that they had broken bones doing their acts.
Yeah.
But this is what they do for a living. They go around to these different festivals and do their pogo stick or ride their unicycle. And so it's not quite as, I guess, dangerous as some of the things he did, but still, it amazes me, like.
Well, and that's kind
they
of
were doing
his
that. Yeah.
legacy, you know. I mean, they interviewed all those guys, the Tony Hawk, who's the skateboarding guy, and was it the BX bike guys and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, all that came after Evel Knievel, and he
But it
was
was very, very telling that the person who was doing a lot of the conversation was the guy who does the program Jackass,
yeah.
where he does have some brain damage. And I thought that is a worthy successor more than the extreme sport guys who are very scientific about it. I mean,
Right.
kids-
They're pretty precise. They know how to
Yeah.
calculate.
And it's like the famous redheaded snowboarder who invented new.
Sean White.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. That's right. The
Shawnee
Olympic.
they were actually worked with people, with scientists to get
Mhm.
the exact kind of thing they needed.
Well, and the other thing I found interesting was his sort of unwillingness to quit. It's like he did that thing in Wembley in England where he crashed and then stood up and said, I'm done. This is the last time you're going to see me. And then he couldn't quite quit.
Mhm.
Um,
That was where he had 80 people coming and then he got 80,000 people to come.
yeah,
Remember that? He
that's
kind of
right.
Stirred everybody up and got them to come watch him.
Yeah, no, he was
All of
kind of,
that's, I was just gonna say, all of that's amazing. And yeah, I thought that was notable. He retired and then he doesn't. But I was struck by, he just has this terrible crash and he tells people to get him up. And
Yeah.
then he stands
No, I
Get
agree.
him up.
Like, maybe you have a spinal injury.
exactly.
He's not
I-
bright.
No such thing as a cervical brace or anything.
Yeah, no. Well, and this wasn't in the movie, but I guess his last jump was in Chicago the plan was for him to jump over a tank of sharks.
Oh, God.
And so
I-
but he was practicing without the sharks, just over the tank, and of course crashed into this cameraman, and it hurt the guy. And he had some injury to his eye, and he felt bad, so he refused to do the real jump. And it was kind of like his signal that he was really and truly done. So, fun fact, the whole term "jump the shark," that Fonzie and Happy Day, that was all inspired
All
by
from
that event.
It
Yeah,
was.
who
I had
knew?
no idea.
Evel Knievel was the source
I
of Jump
never
the Shark.
understood what jumping the shark really
Yeah,
meant,
it's like
other
you're,
than going completely downhill.
it's right, you're done. You've kind of a flash in the pan type of thing.
Was
So,
that the only time that someone was injured in
yes.
one of his jumps?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, he felt really bad for injuring this guy, and that's what finally shut him down. But surely other people have been injured in his escapades. But no, I mean,
At the one where he jumps the wildcats and the snakes went up in the air. There's probably somebody who got trampled during that one.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's just, I don't know. What a character. And then I guess somebody in the early 2000s actually, with his son's backing, like actually successfully did the rocket thing over the Snake
Yeah.
River thing. I didn't realize that. So,
I didn't either. But he had better equipment for sure by then.
yes. Yeah,
Oh,
They were
no.
yeah.
that much further along.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
For
wonder
what
what,
it's worth, Kathleen, Wikipedia actually says jumping the shark does originate with Fonzie jumping over the shark in the
Right.
Happy Days
Yeah.
episode.
But
But you said that it started with Evel Knievel?
Well, the Happy Days writers were inspired by the Evel Knievel jump. It was right after that here.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. No, it's all a big connected deal. Shark jump. Yeah. Later that year on the sitcom Happy Days, motorcycle riding character Fonzie, did the jump the shark. And so, but it was based supposedly on the previous jump by Evel Knievel over the shark tank.
I see.
I guess the sharkless Shark Tank.
Where
There were
he
no
entered
sharks.
somebody else.
Yeah.
All right.
So anyway,
Mhm.
just,
Thank-
I don't know. I
what influence do you think he had on his sons?
well, that Robbie seems almost be like a mini me type guy. I mean, because he went on to do stunt work, right?
Yeah, but he has the, more a rougher appearance. It's not
Yeah.
a dandy. He's wearing a bandana and it's more the outlaw. Whereas
Yeah.
the other guy has his mother's looks.
Yeah,
and is
Kelly.
a handsome, polished man. But you
And,
wonder, seeing your daddy act like that, it sounded like he was still their hero.
Oh, very much so.
I think so too. He must have been kind enough to him that they admired him or wanted to be like him.
And maybe that's also the key to his rosebud, his father not being around. Better you have a profligate father who dishonors your mother and is a bully, but he's your daddy and you love him and he's your hero.
Yeah, I mean, like
course
his daughter, it was interviewed. I don't know how much she was interviewed in the movie, but she seems like completely normal, and she had kids and she would essentially tell them not to do what their grandfather had done. That sort of thing.
But
But
he
he-
loved her daddy too.
Yeah, and apparently he was really good to his grandkids as well. So a very complicated guy. I don't know. I'm not sure. I can't say I liked him, but he was certainly fascinating,
Now, the movie
Um,
was entertaining, I thought.
Yeah,
I
I thought so too.
I learned a lot about what he did. I didn't really follow him before.
I
Yeah.
thought he succeeded a
was-
lot more than this was showing. I didn't see the ones I just remember, the only one I remember was he actually succeeded over school buses, not,
Oh,
but that's the only thing. I didn't know he had all these horrible crashes. Again, it reminds me of the NASCAR thing where it's supposedly a sport, but everybody is holding their breath for the big smash up, I think.
mhm. No, I mean, there
a
were
kind of a
some likable
horrification.
characters. I feel like his first wife was the most likable.
Uh-huh.
But I don't know.
How
He-
could she suffer through all of that?
Yeah. Yeah. Although it was kind of weird the way she was describing that she was walking down the road or something and he pulls over and said, "I'm going to marry you." And then they went and got married.
And she says, I guess he really did
Get in,
kidnap
yeah,
me.
kidnap
Maybe
her.
she wasn't as bright either.
Yeah. I mean, again, it just, that whole environment sounds like it was
Exactly.
so different, right? I mean,
I'm
and
thinking he must have had a lot of charisma that just attracted
yeah.
people
Yeah, he did.
He sure
regardless.
did
And that
have
may be part of the con man thing, period. But
the silver tongue.
Yeah, no, I mean, he was very attractive, and I mean, like, there's that great clip right before his like kind of debut jump on the Wide World of Sports where they interviewed him, and he was very dashing in a suit and kind of saying, yeah, I've never jumped over this many, but I'm going to try it anyway. And I don't know. He was good at kind of like drawing you in, with his,
Well, and like the time, I think it was Frank Gifford, he said, I'm glad you're here. I never had a crash when you're here.
yeah,
Yes.
So yeah, he was
Yeah.
smooth that way.
he
Very
was.
smooth.
Yeah. So, it's always like the museum in Topeka. It's like, why Topeka? Was it because, and Annie, you may know more about this than I do, but is it because of the owners collected a bunch of stuff and set it
Yeah,
up there?
yeah, darn it. I wish Carrie were here. We'd get that whole story. But all I
Yeah.
know is that the guy who owns the Harley dealership,
Uh,
their home is Topeka, and his son was in school in Lawrence, and I just think he had it was a natural offshoot from the Harley dealership that he owned.
Okay.
And talk about promotion. I mean, that obviously, if you have the Evel Knievel Museum there, you're helping to promote the business that you've got going with selling motorcycles. So
Right.
I
Right.
I don't really know. I know that the guy was from Topeka and he had the dealership. So
Yeah.
but I do have to say, if anybody goes to the museum in Topeka, by the way, they are going to move to Las Vegas. So don't wait too long to go to Topeka because they're trying to put that deal together. They're going to move the museum to Vegas. But if
Perfect
you do
place
go to
for
the
it.
museum, be sure you pay the extra $5 and do the virtual jump.
That's what
Because there
that's
were
my
3 of us
motivation.
who signed up to do it. I was one of them, and it was just really fun. And we made the jump. That happened to
You
be
did it.
one that Evel made. It was a lot of fun.
No, it was fun watching you do that because people were like swaying, and of course they have to have an attendant next to you in case you sway too far over one way.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I
yeah.
just kept saying, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh."
Did he, does it say, did he collect the Harley Davidson dealer? Did he collect all that stuff earlier on? Or, because I wondered about the stuff that they
He
had
did
the
not.
garage sale when he was on his way down and
Well, the
sell-
guy who owns the dealership does not own everything in the museum. In fact, that's
Okay.
one of the catches to moving the museum to Las Vegas.
Hmm.
Apparently, the things that are in the museum belong to a lot of different people and a lot of different investors. So all these investors are trying to agree
Oh,
on
man.
whether or not it gets moved or how it gets moved or what gets moved. So the guy who owns the dealership does not own the memorabilia that's in the museum.
I see.
Didn't
Okay.
they in the movie talk about somebody who was going to have something fixed in New Jersey, but then somebody said, "Oh no, you need to go to the dealership in
Oh, that's right.
Topeka," and
Yeah.
he was a collector of these things, but I don't remember. It was a famous guy. I mean, somewhat famous, but I don't know. Does anybody remember that? It was toward the end.
Yeah,
Okay.
I vaguely do. Well, it's I don't know. It's just God, why Topeka? But honestly, Las Vegas seems like a better fit. Because
Well,
there's
one of the things that Carrie talked about was they do have the big Mack truck that
Mhm.
they use to cart the Evel around and all the motorcycles and everything. And it needed repair, and they were looking for a place to repair it. And
Okay.
and the guy in Topeka, I don't know if it was the same guy who owned the dealership, but somebody in Topeka said, somebody affiliated with the museum said, "Oh, we can do that. We
okay.
can rebuild this big old semi." And at the time, I mean, that was just pure bravado. They didn't know what they were doing or that they
Mhm.
could do it, but they ended up rebuilding this truck, and the whole truck is in the museum.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, it's fun. Yeah, it is, I think, the one Evel Knievel museum that is sanctioned by the estate. So it's like the Graceland for Evel Knievel. So, and I, apparently there's,
Okay, Gracie and Shelley, it's next week
Okay.
absolutely.
and we're taking the jump. You hear me? We're taking the jump. Yes, Shelley, I want to see you on that bike.
I
Uh.
feel like I've already done that in junior high when I got on my first motorcycle, not my math teacher, but a math teacher's motorcycle, and it got a little out of control and I jumped the curb and went down the hill.
Mm.
It was not a good sign. It
Oh, God.
was,
Oh, well,
Well, I
no.
wanted to comment. I had a comment about, we lived in Indianapolis for a year, and then we went into the service, then we went back to Indianapolis. And if you're around that stuff, that racing stuff, you just get the bug. You know,
Yes.
we went to time trials, we went to the actual race. We would never have gone from anywhere else, but when you're in the mood or in the mode, whatever
Right,
I want to
right.
say,
In the
So,
environment.
you just do
Yeah.
it. You just,
Yeah.
and the same for jumping, same for Evel Knievel. There was a crowd that was into it, big time.
no,
Yeah.
it is true. I lived on the island in New York, and Bridgehampton, they had Formula One racing, the Maseratis and the Ferraris. And I'd be sitting with my now husband, then boyfriend,
And it's
for
very loud.
hours and hours watching, because Formula One goes on forever. And unfortunately, it's not the crashes, it's just these gorgeous
Cars.
bodies. But you're
Yeah.
right, you become
You
hypnotized.
get in the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very
Well,
zen. Well,
so,
thank you for your research, Kathleen. I was hoping
Oh.
you had other
Yes.
clips for us.
well,
lot of work.
I'm trying to find, oh, here, hang on. I've got one left that I've been saving for you. And this is an inspiration for you, because this is what Evel Knievel did in his retirement. So let's see if I can actually pull this off. I thought this was pretty darn funny. Hang on, I gotta share my screen. I think I finally got it up. Oh,
No
wait a minute.
singing, no
I'll
singing.
just mention, when I was in high school, I had a moped and used to ride it up to KU when I took classes. So
Oh.
that's my contribution to riding sort of a
Oh.
motorcycle.
So can you see that image?
It looks like he's
Yes.
jumping out of
Yes.
the plane.
Okay, here we go. This is what he did after he retired from motorcycle riding.
At any Choice hotel like quality, comfort, clarion, and sleep, seniors can call ahead and get a 30% discount, no matter where they drop by.
I won't do to save a buck.
Seniors save 30% by calling 1-800-4CHOICE to reserve.
Isn't that a hoot?
What came off that pickup truck? What was that?
It was
I
a,
think those are
Feathers.
feathers.
Those are
Yeah,
chicken
like
feathers.
chickens.
Yeah.
Oh,
kind of random,
Chicken
but yeah.
feathers.
So he was like promoting the senior discount at Choice hotels. So a little inspiration, we can all go out and do that.
but
So
Kathleen, now there's this Captain America who has exactly the same suit.
it's exactly. It's
And-
like
and-
we've come full circle.
And who has given birth to Captain America?
Who?
Well,
Stan Lee.
Captain Morgan, that's kind of the
Oh.
same thing.
It's like, what the heck? That is so
Yeah.
random.
Sorry.
Anyway,
You told me to be filler.
well, that was not on my list of filler items.
Oh.
Thank you very much. Anyway, well, thank you all for coming. We're bumping up against 8 o'clock, and next week is wine night, which I think is a week from tomorrow. And I've got to get the list of wines. We're doing Finger Lake wines from New York, which I think will be kind of fun.
Ah.
And then
Any sense about our next film?
I know, I'm open to your suggestions. I don't know if there's a movie that you all have seen on Canopy that you've thought is particularly interesting. There's a whole bunch of new stuff. I just got a email. We get emails from Canopy about new stuff, and they've refreshed a lot of things. So that might be, I don't know, there may be something kind of fun on there. But if you pop on there and watch something or not, or something looks interesting, let me know, and we can see if we can find a speaker and go from there. Although this was kind of fun to freewheel it.
It was
And,
nice because we didn't have to watch ourselves.
Yeah,
I would have not said what I said.
that
had
is
gentleman
so
been there.
so true. I know.
I know my P's and Q's, believe it or not.
Yeah. Oh, before we go, we need to give it a rating. So what would you rank or
Oh.
rate out of 1 to 5, 5 being fantastic, 1 being really not so good?
2.
Maybe a 4.
Let's see. We got some 3s. We got a 4. Oh, that's good. All right. All right. So yeah, it was better than I anticipated, but
God.
It benefited from low expectations.
that's true. That's
Right.
true. And I now have like 1 brain cell dedicated to Evel Knievel with all these bizarre factoids in it. So anyway, well, thanks again. It's great to
Thank
see you
you,
guys.
Kathleen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Your
All right.
hard work.
Well, hey, no, it's fun. All right. Take care. See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Friday.